The man simply asked one thing. Can you see my wife behind me? Shen Lingxue, a top-tier spirit master, was frozen in shock on the spot because in her eyes, there was nothing behind the man, just as she was about to curse him out for being a delusional loner. The next second, a terrifying, crushing pressure swept in. Space-time suddenly warped, and a hideous monster appeared out of thin air. Earlier, Shen Lingxue and her team had come to Fang Xiu's house to investigate the eerie Bailu Academy incident. The two sat down and kept observing Fang Xiu, seemingly unable to see his wife. Fang Xiu wondered, are they just pretending not to see her? It seemed he'd need to fish for info and find a chance to test them. Li Wenhao made the introductions. This is investigator Shen Lingxue. I am her assistant. Li Wenhao stated his purpose. He wanted info on the ghost domain at Bailu Academy. Meanwhile, Shen Lingxue was also sizing up Fang Xiu. They had seen many survivors of ghost domains, but never one as calm as Fang Xiu. He didn't even seem surprised by their arrival. Shen Lingxue asked scrutinizingly, did you know about the bureau before? Fang Xiu shook his head. No, but since anomalies exist without causing public chaos, it's easy to guess a force is maintaining order behind the scenes. Shen Lingxue's gaze turned sharp. To survive a supernatural event and still be able to think so rationally, you're quite unusual. The bureau is a special department dedicated to dealing with anomalies, an official organization of spirit masters. We are here today for two things. 1. To gather information regarding the Bailu Academy anomaly, and 2. To determine if you are qualified to join the bureau. While there are various spirit masters out there, only we possess absolute information and the resources needed for your advancement. First, let's talk about the former. Tell us everything you know about the Bailu Academy anomaly. Fang Xiu didn't answer. Instead, he slowly stood up. Before I answer your questions, I have a few of my own that need answering. Shen Lingxue's gaze darkened. A terrifying aura radiated from her body, like a beast on the verge of snapping. I'm the one asking questions here. Just give me a straight answer. Li Wenhao quickly tried to soothe her. Investigator Shen, calm down. Please calm down. Meanwhile, through his perception, Fang Xiu realized Shen Lingxue must be a spirit master, while Assistant Li is just an ordinary person. So, a pairing of a spirit master and a civilian. Is this the standard setup for the bureau? A spirit master's soul is tainted by anomalies, making their personalities irritable and extreme. So pairing them with a sane assistant serves to monitor and restrain them. Hearing this, Shen Lingxue was startled. It was as if he had struck a raw nerve. Her anger flared even hotter. Fang Xiu, do you have a death wish? Li Wenhao hurriedly held her back. Mr. Fang, please stop provoking the investigator. If you have questions, just ask them quickly. Fang Xiu calmly held up one finger. First question, what exactly are anomalies? This question is what most people who survive an encounter want to know. What are they? Where do they come from? What is their purpose? The Bureau's preliminary definition is distorted psychic entities with an inherent source of pollution. Anomalies manifest in various forms. Some are spiritual bodies, some are made of flesh and blood, and some are merely conceptual. The only thing they have in common is an intense craving for the human psyche. They strengthen themselves by consuming humans. Furthermore, they appear abruptly, without any pattern. Each anomaly acts like a radioactive source of pollution, constantly radiating ghost chi into its surroundings. Ghost chi taints the mind, and the power of a spirit master is the byproduct of the mind being tainted and triggered by an anomaly. Fang Xiu followed up with a second question. Then how are the power levels of spirit masters classified? By now, Shen Lingxue had long since lost her patience, but Li Wenhao was slightly surprised. It seemed Mr. Fang already had some understanding of spirit masters. He immediately took out a pen and paper and began to explain. The power levels of spirit masters are classified based on how much of their spirituality is awakened. Seeing so many tears, the wife couldn't help but lick her lips. Generally, those who have awakened 1% to 20% of their spirituality are called rank 1 spirit masters. Awakening 21% to 40% makes one a rank 2 spirit master, where abilities undergo a qualitative change. 41% to 60% is rank 3, and so on. There are also rank 4 and rank 5, but those details are classified. The higher the rank, the harder it is to awaken further, and the fewer people there are. Fang Xiu grew curious. What happens after reaching 100%? Li Wenhao shook his head. As far as I know, no one has ever reached 100%, because to awaken more spirituality, one needs to encounter even more powerful anomalies and constantly survive life or death breakthroughs. Spirit masters and anomalies are opposites, yet they coexist. Only the most powerful anomalies can produce the strongest spirit masters, and the current strength of anomalies isn't enough to give rise to ultra-powerful spirit masters. Fang Xiu signaled that he was about to ask a third question, but Shen Lingxue, now fuming with rage, finally snapped. I don't have time to listen to your pointless questions. Li Wenhao sent him the URL for the global anomaly forum. Look up this basic information yourself. Shen Lingxue warned him. This dark website isn't monitored by the Bureau. I suggest you don't trust emails from strangers. Now, tell us everything about the Bailu Academy anomaly. If you dare to lie, you'll have to face the consequences. I have one last question. Can you see my wife behind me? The moment he said it, the wife looked at Fang Xiu with loving eyes, while Shen Lingxue stood frozen in shock. She snapped at him. Fang Xiu, are you insane? Simply because in her line of sight, there was absolutely nothing behind him. Even the usually polite Li Wenhao couldn't help himself. What kind of bullshit tea is that? You're a single loser. Don't you know whether you have a wife or not? At that moment, the wife cheered, hubby, you can see me, right? Fang Xiu muttered under his breath. Can they really not see her? Or are they faking it? Now, the two investigators felt Fang Xiu was highly abnormal. Usually, when a civilian first awakens as a spirit master, their mental state is unstable. But he remained unervingly calm. They strongly suspected he had mental issues, and severe ones at that, to the point of having hallucinations. Shenling Xue couldn't hold back and finally exploded. Fang Xiu, are you playing us for fools? Looking at her fury, Fang Xiu felt she wasn't acting. However, he still had one more move. He turned around to face his wife behind him. I see you. Right at that instant, the previously enraged Shenling Xue suddenly felt a terrifying, overwhelming pressure. The space to Fang Xiu's right began to warp, as violent energy continuously gathered and compressed. In the empty air, a pair of pale feet appeared, followed by a beauty in a white silk nightgown, suddenly manifesting. Hubby, you can see me. Then, a bone-chilling laughter erupted from the wife. What a delicious spirit master. Shenling Xue and her assistant were horrified. They scrambled to their feet. Damn it, what is that thing? The wife's dainty mouth tore open to her ears, her teeth turning into jagged saws. In the blink of an eye, she became a hideous, terrifying monster. She let out a cry of suppressed ecstasy. It's been so long since I ate a spirit master. I've really missed this. Li Wenhao was already scared out of his wits. Shenling Xue was consumed by dread, but Fang Xiu alone grew excited and manic. Didn't expect that, did you? So my wife is actually an anomaly, and I didn't expect you all to be so clueless about it. Shenling Xue quickly spread her palms, conjuring two spheres of intense, purple high-temperature flames. The heat was so great that even space began to warp. She blasted them directly past Fang Xiu toward his wife. But the terrifying flames were like fire hitting an iceberg. They failed to leave even a single scratch on her. Shenling Xue was in utter disbelief. What? She's completely unharmed? She realized then that this was a horrific entity far beyond her control. She grabbed Li Wenhao and turned to bolt, but the wife wasn't about to let such delicious treats escape. With a simple, graceful wave of her hand, the fleeing pair felt something sharp slice across their necks. In an instant, they were decapitated. Their heads hit the floor with a heavy thud. Seeing this, Fang Xiu rushed forward. He hurriedly tore open Shenling Xue's shirt, revealing her chest, then checked deep along her thigh. There was a small pink fox tattoo. His wife's voice drifted from behind him. Hubby, what are you trying to do? Enjoying them while they're still warm? Suddenly, the wife's gaping, bloody maw lunged at him. Fang Xiu lost consciousness once again. The checkpoint for his rebirth didn't send him back to the mental hospital. Instead, it was the moment he returned home to test his wife with the scalpel. Looks like this is a new save point, Fang Xiu thought. He felt a secret surge of joy. Now that he knew the bureau existed, he had to make the most of it. They would arrive to investigate tomorrow at 8:45 a.m. It was time for his power of precognition to be revealed to the world. Back home, Fang Xiu ignored his wife and opened his computer to search for info on anomalies. He entered the global anomaly forum URL that Li Wenhao had given him. The site opened to a terrifying, hideous skull. Even weirder, the layout resembled certain shady websites, divided into Western, Asian, and Japanese/Korean sectors. Fang Xiu's interest was instantly piqued. He clicked on his favorite, the domestic sector. Below that, there were many more categories: anomalies, spirit masters, ghost chi, and bounties. He quickly clicked to search and browse through the files. Just then, his wife suddenly transformed into the computer mouse, forcing him to constantly stroke her body. She seemed to reach a sudden climax, her face flushing bright red in an instant. Fang Xiu ignored it and continued reading the posts. Though the information wasn't necessarily complete, it was much faster than exploring aimlessly on his own. Suddenly, a title caught his eye: Origin of the Anomalies. He immediately clicked on it. A payment pop-up for 1 million credits appeared. With only a few $100s to his name, he couldn't afford it. So he looked at other posts instead. Cheap ones cost 10 or 20,000, while data on past experiences cost millions. So this is the world of spirit masters? 2.5 hours later, Fang Xiu finally found official information released by the Bureau, being officially verified. The posts were mostly solid facts. Fang Xiu was completely immersed. He spent the entire night reading, gaining a preliminary understanding of anomalies and spirit master basics. Anomalies are ranked by their threat level, from high to low: S, A, B, C, and D. Some individual entities aren't physically strong, but their threat level is massive. For instance, abroad, there was once an anomaly codenamed Plague. Its physical strength was so weak a rank 1 could kill it, but it could spread pestilence over a vast area, resulting in millions of deaths. Thus, it was rated as an S-rank anomaly. S-rank entities possess the power to destroy a nation in a short time. They are classified as calamity level. The higher the threat level, the rarer the anomaly. The origin of anomalies is still unproven. The forum says they appear out of thin air, without any logic. Only Fang Xiu knew that anomalies have actually always been among us. Normally, they remain invisible, but once certain conditions are met, they manifest into reality. After a whole night of browsing posts, he still hadn't found anyone claiming they could see anomalies all over the streets. Free posts simply didn't provide much information. He'd have to get stronger and earn money to extract more useful intel from the forum. His biggest takeaway was the data on ghost tools. Ghost tools come in various shapes and sizes, but all carry the power of an anomaly, possessing all sorts of incredible functions. Without a doubt, the scalpel was a ghost tool. Having sliced through countless anomalies, it was long since tainted. The forum also explained how to control these tools. To unleash their maximum power, one must use their spirituality to invade the tool's core and establish a connection. However, Using ghost tools comes with massive risks. Their corrupting nature strikes deep into the psyche, greatly increasing the risk of the mind becoming extreme and losing control. Feng Xiu checked the time. There were just over 3 hours until the Bureau's visit. In the meantime, he had to tame the scalpel. With that, he began to drive his spirituality, pushing deeper into the scalpel's interior. His consciousness felt as if it had entered a void, filled with countless raging, roaring consciousnesses. Like ferocious beasts, they frantically assaulted Feng Xiu's mind. Countless waves of cruelty, slaughter, and despairing negative emotions flooded his body, trying to twist his soul into a monster. However, Feng Xiu's mind had already been twisted by his wife's dozens of murders, making it warped, and even darker than the scalpel's negative emotions. Feng Xiu let out a cold laugh. Only this level of despair? He immediately drove all his spirituality into the scalpel, shattering the deep-seated negative energy, successfully leaving his own mark inside the ghost tool. The connection was established instantly. At the same time, Feng Xiu noticed his spirituality had been bolstered. He had now awakened 2%. The scalpel didn't just serve as a weapon to attack. It also possessed 2 distinct abilities. First is the basic ability, Sever. The more spirituality I inject, the stronger its cutting power. The second is channeling the latent anomalous power to strengthen myself. However, this power is far too violent, and my current physical condition can't handle it. My top priority is still physical reinforcement. Feng Xiu then went to the kitchen for breakfast. As he was eating, Zhao Hao called his account. Broshio, I finally figured out what my ability is. Don't get jealous when I tell you. Feng Xiu simply said indifferently. I know. It's sexual prowess. Zhao Hao was stunned. What? How did you know? Did you foresee it, Broshio? I was really looking forward to bragging to you. Feng Xiu interrupted. If that's all, I'm hanging up. I have 2 guests arriving shortly. He hung up and continued his breakfast. Meanwhile, the headphones at the remote wiretapping station suddenly dropped. Li Wenhao broke into a cold sweat, unable to recover for a long time. Shen Lingxue frowned. What are you doing? Li Wenhao said urgently. I just heard about Feng Xiu and Zhao Hao's abilities. Shen Lingxue grew slightly curious. What kind of ability made you lose your composure like that? Let's hear it. Zhao Hao's ability is sexual prowess. Her face instantly darkened. That is certainly shocking. Li Wenhao said solemnly. The key is Feng Xiu's ability. He can foresee the future. Shen Lingxue was startled. Foresee the future? Li Wenhao continued. And he just said on the phone. He almost never has visitors. So the guests he mentioned are most likely us. As a newly awakened spirit master, he should only be able to foresee immediate events. Shen Lingxue opened the door and got out. Instead of guessing, let's just go meet him. I want to see for myself if this precognition power is real or fake. The 2 arrived at Feng Xiu's front door. The door was already slightly ajar. Shen Lingxue stepped forward and pushed it open. The scene before her made her heart skip a beat. Feng Xiu was calmly brewing tea. Wisps of steam were rising from the cups. The tea had clearly just been poured. Feng Xiu said flatly, Miss Shen. Mr. Li, please have a seat. At those words, their shock deepened even further. They slowly walked over. How do you know our surnames? And how did you know we were coming? Feng Xiu took a light sip of tea. Because my eyes can see the future. Hearing him say it himself, Shen Lingxue was shaken. But her doubts didn't vanish. How can you prove you see the future? Feng Xiu remained composed. You are with the Bureau. You're here for 2 reasons. 1. To investigate the Bailu Academy anomaly. 2. To vet me and Zhao Hao to see if we're qualified to join the Bureau. Li Wenhao's expression grew grim. That doesn't prove you can foresee the future. If you had prior knowledge of the Bureau, our purpose would be easy to guess. Feng Xiu let out a cold laugh, glancing at Li Wenhao with a hint of malice. What is it, Mr. Feng? My reasoning is perfectly logical. You've had a secret crush on Shen Lingxue for years, and you've already written a love letter. Li Wenhao gasped, his face turning beet red. Shen Lingxue was stunned. A love letter? Feng Xiu continued. That letter is in your left jacket pocket. Li Wenhao reflexively clutched his pocket. He hadn't expected the other man to know even this. Shen Lingxue looked at Li Wenhao. Is there really a love letter? Li Wenhao looked like a child who had done something wrong. He went blank, shaking uncontrollably. The content starts with, Lingxue, by the time you see this letter, I'm afraid I will already be dead. Shen Lingxue leaned in closer. Take it out. Let me see. Panic-stricken by his goddess's sudden proximity, Li Wenhao stammered. Investigator Shun. Feng Xiu is talking nonsense. I don't have it. I really don't. But then, she pulled a letter right out of his pocket. As Shen Lingxue read it carefully, her shock grew even more intense. The content was word for word exactly what Feng Xiu had said. However, she didn't care too much about the letter's contents. Even if you know about the letter, it doesn't prove you can foresee the future, because this wasn't written in the future. It was written in the past. Facing her skepticism, Feng Xiu continued. Miss Shen's ability is Purple Hellfire. Measurements. 32-22-34. Shen Lingxue's brow furrowed. My ability isn't exactly a secret, and guessing my measurements just makes you a pervert. Li Wenhao murmured to himself, quickly memorizing those numbers. Seeing she still didn't believe him, Feng Xiu inquired, Miss Shun, you have one more hidden secret. Do you want me to say it out loud? Li Wenhao's interest was piqued instantly. His ears perked up. Shen Lingxue said confidently, Go ahead. I don't have any shameful secrets. Miss Shun, you have an extreme obsession with pink. Your bra and panties are all patterned pink. You even have a tattoo of a small pink fox on a certain part of your body. It's clearly just X-ray vision. You and that Zhao Hao are two peas in a pod. Both of you are vulgar and shameless. Facing the fury of a high-level spirit master, Feng Xiu remained unnervingly calm. Precognition doesn't mean knowing everything about the future at will. I only foresaw your arrival last night and spent my spirituality to see Mr. Li reading a letter late at night and the scene of Miss Shun organizing her wardrobe. Shen Lingxue suppressed her flames. In her anger, there was a trace of bashfulness. She suspected Feng Xiu had seen much more than that. After all, that little fox was tattooed deep on her thigh. What you've said doesn't count as true precognition. Tell me, what are tonight's lottery numbers? Feng Xiu took a pen and paper. He wrote down a string of numbers. He intended to write random numbers first, then use death loop once the results were out. In the meantime, he would gather as much info as possible. Seeing Feng Xiu so confident, she asked, if you can foresee the future, why don't you just buy the tickets yourself? Ever heard of the butterfly effect? So you too. Don't try to use the Bureau's power to change the numbers. For your sake, this better be real. If these numbers don't win, you know the consequences. Feng Xiu replied with even more confidence. If they don't win, you can have my life. Feeling that Feng Xiu was being too dismissive, Shen Lingxue felt she was being toyed with. She stood up in a sudden burst of rage. Li Wenhao quickly intervened. Mr. Feng, let's discuss your experience. Inside the Bailu Academy ghost domain, Feng Xiu took a sip of tea and began to recount the anomalous events. That ghost domain was called Qingshan Mental Hospital. It appeared out of nowhere. By the time we realized what was happening, everyone was trapped inside with no way out. Then, Feng Xiu gave a brief account of what happened in the ghost domain. However, he didn't reveal too much. After all, a newly awakened rank 1 spirit master's power is limited. Of course, he also concealed the matter of the scalpel to avoid unnecessary trouble. Since my spiritual energy was limited, I only used my precognition once at a fork in the road. In that vision, I saw two distinct paths. One showed Zhao Hao and me passing safely through the corridor, successfully escaping after encountering a dream-controlling anomaly. The other path led to numerous hospital rooms, exuding a terrifying aura like a bottomless abyss. Zhao Hao and I would have been hunted down by a female spirit master. Therefore, I estimate that dozens of anomalies exist within Qingshan Mental Hospital. Li Wenhao was instantly taken aback. Are you certain there are dozens of them? Shen Lingxue, however, scoffed at Feng Xiu. Do you even know what you're saying? Dozens of anomalies have never appeared inside a single ghost domain. Ghost domains are born from a single anomalous source. There might be overlaps or fusions, but it's nearly impossible for anomalies to coexist peacefully. What you saw were just ghost slaves controlled by an anomaly. They are numerous, but weak. It seems you were just scared witless by the anomaly. Clearly, you don't understand what an anomaly is, which is why you mistook ghost slaves for the real thing. Feng Xiu didn't care to explain further. At your level, it's hard to grasp my words. Just report this to your superiors. Weakness and ignorance are not barriers to survival, but arrogance is. Shen Lingxue's anger flared again. Li Wenhao hurried to intervene. We appreciate your honesty, Mr. Feng. However, the power of precognition is too game-breaking. We must ask you to come back to the bureau with us. As soon as he finished, Feng Xiu stood up directly, walking straight toward the door. Then let's go. 2.5 hours later, Feng Xiu was taken to a remote and silent location. Seeing numerous anomalies wandering around the bureau, Feng Xiu was certain only he could see the anomalies flooding the streets. The three arrived at a modest entrance. Inside, an endless sense of mystery lingered. Feng Xiu felt a secret surge of joy. The Anomaly Investigation Bureau. I hope you don't disappoint me. Arriving at the bureau, Feng Xiu followed the two down the passage. He hadn't expected the bureau's main facility to be underground, with the modest entrance serving as a mere facade. Feng Xiu was taken to a lounge to wait, while Shen Lingxue and her assistant went to report to the director. Once they were gone, Feng Xiu released his spirituality to sense his surroundings. With the reinforcement from the scalpel, his perception range had expanded. He could clearly perceive the inner workings of the bureau, even spotting Li Wenhao and the others. In the distance, suddenly, Shen Lingxue looked back with a grim expression. She felt as if she were being watched, but found nothing there. What's wrong, Investigator Shen? Shen Lingxue lowered her guard. It's nothing. Feng Xiu quickly retracted his spirituality. She's surprisingly sensitive, he thought. Inside the director's office, the two delivered their report. The director asked in disbelief, are you sure his ability is precognition? This is a grave matter. True or false, it must remain classified. Not a single word of this can leak out. Then, Li Wenhao handed over the slip with the lottery numbers. Wang Dihai said solemnly, guessing numbers doesn't prove everything. For all we know, he rigged it beforehand. Find two trustworthy people to monitor tonight's drawing from start to finish. I want to see just how capable this Feng Xiu really is. Wang Dihai then turned to Shen Lingxue. Xiao Shun, you are an advanced spirit master who might be extreme. Do you think he's lying? If he's faking it, then he's a con artist with nerves of steel. Besides, precognition is too easy to debunk. He has no reason to lie to us. But personally, by the way, he also mentioned that there are dozens of anomalies at Qingshan Mental Hospital. At the mention of this, Shen Lingxue couldn't help but let out a mocking smile. In my judgment, there are only two anomalies at Bailu Academy. The first is the female physician. Proposed codename, Ghost Doctor. Her pattern is killing whoever's closest, one person at a time. Based on the description, She's a Class D. The other is a dream-manipulating anomaly. Proposed codename, Nightmare. Its pattern is forcing nearby people into dreams and killing them by triggering their fears. But considering its range, I suggest a Class C rating. Bailu Academy is a localized anomaly site, and there aren't many people around. In conclusion, the recommended threat level is Class C. Wang Dihai asked solemnly, how terrifying is the nightmare's dreamscape? Shenling Xue continued, even a cowardly, lustful guy like Zhao Hao could use adult movies to suppress his fear. That shows the dreamscape isn't all that. Once precautions are taken, it's even less dangerous than the ghost doctor. Wang Dihai nodded. He trusted Shen Lingxue's judgment. Bring Fang Xiu in for a talk. Shen Lingxue was surprised. Director Wang, that's against protocol. In case he's at risk of losing control, it's safer for the captain to meet him. Wang Dihai shook his head. The captain and vice captain aren't at HQ. They just left to track the headless ghost. Shen Lingxue was shocked they were acting together. Meanwhile, somewhere in Luftang City, two people were in a heated pursuit. It was Captain Yang Ming of the Investigation Bureau and Vice Captain Bai Qi. They were competing to see who could neutralize the anomaly first. As Yang Ming sped off in his car, Bai Qi coolly leaped onto the roof, staying right on his tail. In the lounge, Shen Lingxue pulled out a professional spiritual polygraph to conduct a mental pollution test on Fang Xiu. Unlike a regular lie detector, this device detects lies based on the subject's spiritual fluctuations. If your words don't match your heart, it will react. So, answer truthfully. Fang Xiu nodded. He placed his hand on the polygraph. Go ahead. First question. Suppose an anomaly is currently on a killing spree. What would you choose? 1. Fight the anomaly. 2. Escape on your own. 3. Save as many people as possible and flee together. Without a second thought, Fang Xiu said, Option 1. Fight the anomaly. Shen Lingxue looked at the polygraph. It showed he wasn't lying. She was slightly surprised. She never imagined Fang Xiu would be the type to risk his life for others. But what she didn't know was that Fang Xiu had the death echo ability. Even if he couldn't win, he'd just die a few more times until he found a weakness to kill it. Second question. If an intelligent anomaly invited you to join them, promising you immense power, unimaginable authority, and status, would you join? Fang Xiu answered firmly, no. Shen Lingxue was skeptical. Really? No. What if your family defected to the anomalies and invited you to join them? Fang Xiu replied calmly, I have no family. What about friends? As far as I know, you're close with Zhao Hao. He's your only friend. Fang Xiu said resolutely, I don't mind having no friends. Shen Lingxue followed up with several more questions, but the polygraph remained calm and silent. Last question. After you become a spirit master, what is it you want to do most? Fang Xiu remained just as certain. My goal is to kill every last anomaly. Shen Lingxue was struck with disbelief. No way. She had tested many newly awakened spirit masters because their minds were tainted by anomalies. Their darkest human impulses were amplified. If you can't beat M, join M. I love anomalies. Let's kill them, too. Let's see who can kill more and faster. Most of them were mentally unstable, utterly twisted and selfish. There had never been anyone like Fang Xiu in the spirit master ranks. Someone who wanted to eradicate every anomaly. An angel who actually pities the suffering of the world. What a noble and righteous soul. Shen Lingxue couldn't help but feel ashamed. Compared to him, I'm just an ant in the shadows. However, what Fang Xiu was actually thinking was, not only will I kill every last anomaly, but I will also ruthlessly torture my dear wife. She must feel thousands of times the pain I've endured. I can't let her die too easily. Then, the two of them went to the director's office. Shen Lingxue handed the test report to Wang Dihai. He passed the test. Wang Dihai introduced himself. I'm Wang Dihai, director of the Luftang City Investigation Bureau. Please, have a seat. To his surprise, Fang Xiu was already seated. He nodded. Hello, Director Wang. Wang Dihai looked at the report. His eyes widened instantly, staring at the results in disbelief. He quickly pulled out his vintage reading glasses. He checked it twice. This report is too perfect. Even for a normal person, this level of perfection is impossible. Wang Dihai suppressed his shock. Based on this report alone, Mr. Fang, you are truly extraordinary. Even without the ability to foresee the future, I want to invite you to join the Bureau immediately. Fang Xiu let go. No rush. We'll talk after the lottery results are out. He wanted to use the value of his foresight to negotiate a better price and more resources from the Bureau. Regarding your precognition, are there any limits on the time span or number of uses? Fang Xiu replied with calculated depth. I drift between the future and the past. I've witnessed countless deaths and rebirths. To me, the future is nothing more than a puppet I can observe and rewrite at will. The two were stunned. Holy crap, he's really playing the part. As the two of them were talking, the office door suddenly burst open with a loud bang. Wang Dihai frowned. How many times have I told you? Don't be so reckless. Face Director Wang, white. Something terrible happened. Vice Captain Bai, he's dead. Wang Dihai bolted upright from his seat, his face pale with shock. Bai Qi was the strongest combatant in Luftang City. How could he? Fang Xiu watched everyone with curiosity. It's a shame their top fighter is dead. But I can use this to my advantage. Earlier, Bai Qi and Yang Ming were tracking the headless ghost. Vice Captain Bai found it at an abandoned building in Qingbei Town. But he didn't notify Captain Yang, confident he could take down the headless ghost alone. And he almost did. Except another anomaly was lurking in Qingbei. Just as Vice Captain Bai prepared the finishing blow, he was blindsided by the anomaly hiding in the shadows. Severely wounded and outnumbered by 2 anomalies, he ultimately lost. At this point, Wang Dihai exploded in a fit of rage. What the hell is our intelligence department doing? How did you not know? There was another anomaly in Qingbei town? The staff member panicked. He followed the staff member out. Shortly after stepping out, Fang Xiu heard Wang Dihai roaring out orders. Lin, get the car ready. Every investigator, head to Qingbei town now. Contact the civilian spirit master organizations. Ask them to send reinforcements. The bureau will offer 3,000 spiritual stones and 10 spiritual incense sticks. At the mention of spiritual stones and incense, Fang Xiu's interest was piqued. He had heard of these on the anomaly forums, but had never seen the real things. Developed by the bureau headquarters, spiritual stones are the primary currency among spirit masters, but they can also be used to forge weapons and armor. Strictly speaking, they are a type of spiritual material, especially crafted soul steel. Spiritual incense, on the other hand, can suppress mental pollution and prevent a spirit master from losing control. It's an incredibly precious cultivation resource. Back in the lounge, the staffer, Xiao Wang, was in a frantic state. Many other employees outside were also scurrying about. Vice Captain Bai's death had thrown the entire bureau into chaos. Meanwhile, Fang Xiu calmly sipped his tea, scheming on how to use this information. He then walked over to the glass door and drew the curtains. Only then did Xiao Wang react. Mr. Fang, what are you doing? Fang Xiu delivered a sharp knife hand strike to his neck. Xiao Wang lost consciousness instantly and slumped over. Quickly, Fang Xiu stripped off the man's uniform. After changing into it, he left the lounge. He intended to go undercover as a staffer to gather more useful intel. Fang Xiu channeled his spirituality to sharpen his senses, listening intently to the surrounding conversations. Vice Captain Bai was so strong. I can't believe he's gone just like that. It's Captain Yang's fault for not going along. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been blindsided. I heard they had a falling out. Bai couldn't accept losing the captaincy duel, and Vice Captain Bai was said to be invincible among rank 2s. But Captain Yang's luck ability gave Bai a stomach ache on the day of the match. He didn't dare go all out. In the end, Captain Yang lucked his way into the position. Fang Xiu stopped listening at that point. It was all gossip, not a single shred of useful intel. Just then, a staff member shouted, "Everyone to the conference room. Captain Yang is back. Director Wang has called an emergency meeting." Fang Xiu blended into the crowd and followed them into the room. An emergency meeting should be a goldmine for information. Inside the conference room, people lined both sides of the long table, with a dozen more staff members standing along the walls. Seated at the head of the table was a stern-faced Wang Dihai. Smoke filled the air nearby. Fang Xiu was taken aback. Who would dare smoke during an emergency meeting? Following the scent of the smoke, he saw a lonely man crouched in the corner, behind Wang Dihai, frantically puffing on a cigarette. Little Bai? Little Bai? He kept muttering. Fang Xiu figured that someone who dared to smoke here must be Captain Yang Ming himself. Seeing the captain's distraught state, his relationship with Vice Captain Bai wasn't as bad as the rumors said. Director Wang Dihai's voice rang out. This anomaly is codenamed Silver Ghost. During Vice Captain Bai's battle with the Headless Ghost, he failed to detect Silver Ghost and was blindsided. No matter how fast he was, he couldn't shake the shadow behind him. Silver Ghost's sneak attack left him severely wounded, and he ultimately died at the hands of the Headless Ghost. Captain Yang Ming has already neutralized the Headless Ghost, but Silver Ghost's whereabouts are unknown. Our top priority is to find Silver Ghost at all costs and avenge Bai Qi. Wang Dihai choked back his grief. However, amidst this tragedy, there is some good news. Captain Yang Ming has successfully advanced to a rank 3 Spirit Master, joining the ranks of the elite. Rank 3. There are only a handful of them in the whole country. In the corner, Yang Ming acted as if he hadn't heard a word. He opened his cigarette pack to light another, only to find it was empty. In less than 2.5 minutes, he had smoked through an entire pack. He looked up at the crowd with a listless expression, his voice raspy. Any of you got a smoke? Wang Dihai felt for him, but he still barked. Yang Ming, you're a rank 3 Spirit Master now. The future of Wolftang City depends on you to protect it. Get your act together. Yang Ming ignored the reprimand, looking like a half-dead man walking. He turned toward the door. Fine. I'll go buy a pack myself. Wang Dihai was seething. He couldn't stand losing Bai Qi while watching Yang Ming sink into depression. Stop right there, he roared. Don't you want to avenge Bai Qi? At the mention of Bai Qi, Yang Ming froze for a second. Revenge? Will revenge bring little Bai back to life? Wang Dihai felt helpless. He mourned Bai Qi's death deeply as well. But what was done was done. He pulled a pack from his pocket and tossed it over. Here, I've got some. Yang Ming caught it. Why didn't you say so sooner? He immediately crouched back down, muttering. Who knew the director was such a high roller, smoking the premium stuff every day? Just then, the conference room door slammed open again. Wang Dihai finally reached his breaking point. He screamed at the door. How many times do I have to say it? Maintain discipline. Discipline. A tearful Xiao Wang stammered in panic. Director Wang, something's wrong. That guy you sent to the lounge with me. He knocked me out and fled. He even stole my uniform. Wang Dihai was hit by a wave of shock and fury. What? You're saying Fang Xiu escaped? Everyone, stay on high alert. Find him. Now. In the crowd, Fang Xiu lowered his head to hide. He sighed at his own lack of professional technique. He didn't expect the guy to wake up so soon. Just then, a woman's voice rang out in fury. Fang Xiu, you're actually here. Shen Lingxue bolted upright. Glaring at Fang Xiu with murderous eyes, the staff members reacted instantly, drawing their pistols. In a split second, every eye in the room was fixed on Fang Xiu. It seemed like if he even twitched, he'd be riddled with bullets immediately. Yet, he showed no fear. Instead, he walked slowly toward the rank 3 Spirit Master. He asked calmly, do you want to bring Bai Qi back to life? As the words left his lips, a terrifying pressure swept through the conference room. Yang Ming's face darkened. Listen, kid. I don't care who you are, but don't you dare joke about the dead, or things will get lethal. The sudden pressure made it impossible for him to move. Fang Xiu was secretly impressed. So this is the power of a rank 3 Spirit Master? But his expression remained unchanged. Just answer me, yes or no? The staff members were stunned. Without orders, they didn't dare move in. Only Wang Dihai lashed out in anger. First it's foresight, now it's resurrection. Stop this nonsense. Arrest him now. As the staff were about to move, Yang Ming raised a hand to stop them. He stared at Fang Xiu with haggard eyes. Can you really save little Bai? Even as he said it, Yang Ming felt like he was losing his mind. It's an iron rule. The dead don't return. Besides, Bai Qi's body was a mess. How could resurrection even be possible? Fang Xiu pressed on. Where were you when he died? Were you too far away? Yang Ming clutched his head, hiding his grief. The leads were incomplete. I was in the outskirts, near Qingbei town. He made it to town sooner. He wouldn't be dead. Fang Xiu followed up. Good. Give me your phone number. And tell me one of your secrets. Yang Ming was taken aback. Phone number? A secret? Aren't we talking about bringing little Bai back? However, Fang Xiu simply said flatly, I can't resurrect the dead. As soon as he said that, Yang Ming, feeling played, was about to explode in rage. But then, Fang Xiu added, but I can go back to the past and reverse the situation where Bai Qi was killed. Hearing this, everyone in the room was stunned. They all questioned Fang Xiu's words. This was even more outrageous than resurrection. Even novels wouldn't dare write this. Yang Ming mocked. Are you even a spirit master? You're more like a spirit god master. Meanwhile, a storm was brewing in Shen Lingshue's heart. She was the only one who believed him without a doubt. Remembering what Fang Xiu said in the office earlier, it turned out he wasn't just posing. He was simply describing his ability in a different way. Returning to the past, rewriting the future. Fang Xiu explained, I'll go back to before the incident and call you to go save him. That's why I need a secret. Something that will make you believe me. Seeing Yang Ming's skeptical look, Fang Xiu continued to persuade him. Try it. What have you got to lose? Yang Ming was finally swayed. He slowly recited his number. 138-168-198. As for the secret, before the match to elect the captain, Little Bai didn't just eat something bad. I secretly spiked his drink with laxatives. Since my ability is luck, no one ever suspected me. Suddenly, an eerie silence fell over the room. Everyone stared at Yang Ming in disbelief, as if they were seeing him for the first time. They never imagined Yang Ming would do something so dirty. Director Wang Dihai was speechless. Unbelievable. A guy with your honest face actually pulled a stunt that low. Yang Ming's expression turned somber again. Forget it. Don't mention it. He's gone. Nothing I say matters now. Fang Xiu suddenly spoke up. That secret is enough. Wait for my call. Yang Ming choked up at those words, finding himself believing Fang Xiu completely. It felt as if Bai Qi would be saved any second. Then, the room fell dead silent. No one dared to make a sound. All eyes fixed on Fang Xiu. Minutes ticked by in the heavy silence. Everyone waiting for something to happen, but nothing did. Finally, Fang Xiu broke the silence. What are you all staring at me for? Get back to the meeting. Yang Ming couldn't help but ask, aren't you going back to the past? We're waiting for you to do your thing. A faint smirk appeared on Fang Xiu's lips. When did I say I was going back right now? Yang Ming was about to explode, feeling played once more. But Wang Dihai stepped in to stop him. Enough, Yang Ming. Take this rambling lunatic to the interrogation room. Yang Ming saw the look Wang Dihai gave him and immediately understood the situation. He turned to Fang Xiu. Come with me. Soon after, the two arrived at the interrogation room. Yang Ming explained why they were there. Director Wang had his concerns. That's why he had me bring you here. Don't take it personally. Deep down, he knew the only hope of saving Bai Qi rested on this man. Whether it was real or not, he couldn't afford to offend him. Fang Xiu signaled his understanding. Why don't you tell me more about the headless ghost, the silver ghost, and Vice Captain Bai Qi? Yang Ming lit a cigarette. Little Bai's ability was super speed. He began slowly. He had an unimaginable speed advantage, far beyond his peers. It's just that he was blindsided due to the intelligence failure. He was severely wounded. Yang Ming went into detail about the incident. About 2.5 hours passed. Suddenly, the interrogation room door was flung open. Lingxue stormed in, clutching the lottery results. Fang Xiu, she shouted in a rage. Not a single one of the numbers you wrote was right. She threw the ticket at him. Check them yourself. Hearing this, Yang Ming crushed the cigarette in his hand, glaring furiously at Fang Xiu. I told you. Joking about the dead gets people killed. But Fang Xiu ignored him. Instead, he studied the numbers carefully. So, these are tonight's winning numbers. Shen Lingxue sneered. That's right. Didn't you say you'd pay with your life if you were wrong? Now I want to see. But before she could finish, Fang Xiu pulled a scalpel straight from his pocket and pointed it directly at his own forehead. He smiled faintly. Don't worry, I keep my word. The next second, he plunged the scalpel into his own skull. In that case, I'll see you in the morning. Under the horrified gazes of the three, Fang Xiu collapsed. They had never seen anyone so decisive, let alone someone who'd end it so cleanly. Then, Fang Xiu's consciousness faded. After being reborn, he followed Xinling Xue and the others back to the bureau. This time, he repeated his previous actions exactly, to avoid any butterfly effects. Arriving here once more, Fang Xiu allowed himself a small smile. Time to show them what true foresight looks like. As they entered the main bureau building, Fang Xiu came to a halt. He spoke at a leisurely pace. Around the next corner, a male employee is about to answer his phone. Right on cue, a man appeared ahead of them. Just then, his phone started ringing. As the employee walked past, Xinling Xue and the others were stunned. He actually answered a call. Li Wenhao stood frozen for a moment. Subconsciously, he asked, did he just foresee that? But Fang Xiu acted like he owned the place, navigating through the office area with total familiarity. He said flatly, in a moment, a man will stand up to stretch, and he's going to run into a female employee. Sure enough, a second later, accompanied by a startled yelp, the woman, carrying a water cup, was knocked aside. Li Wenhao said in total disbelief, it's like every word he speaks becomes reality. The ever-proud Xinling Xue countered, it's nothing more than a series of logical deductions. Fang Xiu glanced at the two, who stood frozen in place. Let's go. The lounge is this way. While Xinling Xue and Li Wenhao stood there open-mouthed, Fang Xiu acted as if he were the host. He accurately pulled their usual green tea and coffee from the drawer. He meticulously brewed a coffee for Xinling Xue and a tea for Li Wenhao. Staring at the coffee in their hands, the two were utterly bewildered, feeling as if they were the guests in their own office. Xinling Xue demanded, when exactly have you been to the bureau before? Fang Xiu simply added sugar to her cup with thoughtful care. Li Wenhao was even more shocked. He even knows Investigator Shun takes exactly 5 sugars. Fang Xiu poured himself a glass of plain water and said flatly, I told you, my eyes can see the future. Besides, you two should go report to Director Wang. He's free right now. The two fell into silence once more. If there was any doubt before, most of it had vanished now. They truly believed Fang Xiu possessed the power of foresight. Meanwhile, far away in the outskirts of Qingbei town, a white sedan sped past. It was Yang Ming, out on a mission, searching for the headless ghost. Suddenly, his phone started ringing. Yang Ming answered without a second thought. Very few people had his personal number. Hello? Who's this? Yang Ming's voice was casual and carefree, a world away from his broken state after Bai Qi's death. A calm voice came from the other end of the line. In half an hour, Bai Qi will die. Yang Ming slammed on the brakes. His nonchalant expression vanished instantly. Who are you? My name is Fang Xiu, a man who can see the future. Xinling Xue stormed in, clutching the lottery results. Fang Xiu, she shouted in a rage. Not a single one of the numbers you wrote was right. She threw the ticket at him. Check them yourself. Hearing this, Yang Ming crushed the cigarette in his hand, glaring furiously at Fang Xiu. I told you, joking about the dead gets people killed. But Fang Xiu ignored him. Instead, he studied the numbers carefully. So, these are tonight's winning numbers. Xinling Xue sneered. That's right. Didn't you say you'd pay with your life if you were wrong? Now I want to see. But before she could finish, Fang Xiu pulled a scalpel straight from his pocket and pointed it directly at his own forehead. He smiled faintly. Don't worry, I keep my word. The next second, he plunged the scalpel into his own skull. In that case, I'll see you in the morning. Under the horrified gazes of the three, Fang Xiu collapsed. They had never seen anyone so decisive, let alone someone who'd end it so cleanly. Then, Fang Xiu's consciousness faded. After being reborn, he followed Xinling Xue and the others back to the bureau. This time, he repeated his previous actions exactly, to avoid any butterfly effects. Arriving here once more, Fang Xiu allowed himself a small smile. Time to show them what true foresight looks like. As they entered the main bureau building, Fang Xiu came to a halt. He spoke at a leisurely pace. Around the next corner, a male employee is about to answer his phone. Right on cue, a man appeared ahead of them. Just then, his phone started ringing. As the employee walked past, Xinling Xue and the others were stunned. He actually answered a call. Li Wenhao stood frozen for a moment. Subconsciously, he asked, did he just foresee that? But Fang Xiu acted like he owned the place, navigating through the office area with total familiarity. He said flatly, in a moment, a man will stand up to stretch, and he's going to run into a female employee. Sure enough, a second later, accompanied by a startled yelp, the woman, carrying a water cup, was knocked aside. Li Wenhao said in total disbelief, it's like every word he speaks becomes reality. The ever-proud Xinling Xue countered, it's nothing more than a series of logical deductions. Fang Xiu glanced at the two, who stood frozen in place. Let's go. The lounge is this way. While Xinling Xue and Li Wenhao stood there open-mouthed, Fang Xiu acted as if he were the host. He accurately pulled their usual green tea and coffee from the drawer. He meticulously brewed a coffee for Xinling Xue and a tea for Li Wenhao. Staring at the coffee in their hands, the two were utterly bewildered, feeling as if they were the guests in their own office. Xinling Xue demanded, when exactly have you been to the bureau before? Fang Xiu simply added sugar to her cup with thoughtful care. Li Wenhao was even more shocked. He even knows Investigator Shun takes exactly 5 sugars. Fang Xiu poured himself a glass of plain water and said flatly, I told you, my eyes can see the future. Besides, You two should go report to Director Wang. He's free right now. The two fell into silence once more. If there was any doubt before, most of it had vanished now. They truly believed Feng Xiu possessed the power of foresight. Meanwhile, far away in the outskirts of Qingbei town, a white sedan sped past. It was Yang Ming, out on a mission, searching for the headless ghost. Suddenly, his phone started ringing. Yang Ming answered without a second thought. Very few people had his personal number. Hello? Who's this? Yang Ming's voice was casual and carefree, a world away from his broken state after Bai Qi's death. A calm voice came from the other end of the line. In half an hour, Bai Qi will die. Yang Ming slammed on the brakes. His nonchalant expression vanished instantly. Who are you? My name is Feng Xiu, a man who can see the future. Wang Dihai first scrutinized the young man before him. To be honest, Mr. Feng, as a newly promoted spirit master, your abilities already far exceed others. This makes it hard for me to believe you can predict the future. Feng Xiu replied calmly. Director Wang, have you ever considered that maybe I was never on the same level as them? Seeing Feng Xiu acting so smug, Wang Dihai suppressed the urge to hit him. Xiao Shun, give me his mental contamination test report. Shenling Xue had not yet recovered from the shock. She stammered, I didn't write a report. Before any questions were asked, Feng Xiu had already foreseen them all, and his answers were absolutely perfect. At that moment, Feng Xiu thought he needed to find a weakness for his precognition. Otherwise, they would think it could be used freely, which would reduce his bargaining power. Immediately, he spoke up. The energy cost of precognition is low, but it comes at a heavy price. It makes it easy to lose mental control and descend into evil. To prevent this from happening, I used my ability flashily to get the Bureau's attention and join them. That way, I can get spirit incense for stabilization, since he can use precognition frequently. Hearing this, Wang Dihai's expression turned serious. This provided a logical explanation for Feng Xiu's actions. So the goal was to obtain spirit incense. Mr. Feng, if I invite you to join the Bureau, what is your expected salary? I demand the salary of a second-tier spirit master, plus 1 extra stick of spirit incense every month. Furthermore, if you want to use my ability, it will cost extra. Wang Dihai looked visibly annoyed. If it is proven you can predict the future, I can agree to your demands. But as for the extra pay, I'm afraid. Feng Xiu interrupted him directly. Director Wang, it seems you haven't realized the value of precognition yet, but you will soon. I have prepared a special gift. For the Bureau. Wang Dihai frowned, getting a very bad feeling. I wonder what this great gift is. Feng Xiu gave a wicked smile. The life of Vice Captain Bai Qi of the Investigation Bureau. Because those words were so provocative, Wang Dihai slammed his hand on the desk. He stared at Feng Xiu with pure rage. Are you threatening me with Bai Qi's life? However, Feng Xiu remained unfazed. It is not a threat. It is a great gift. If you don't believe me, you can give Bai Qi a call. Wang Dihai did not rush to make the call. Instead, he gave Shenling Xue a look. Shenling Xue immediately understood and moved to Feng Xiu's side. She pinned him down firmly. If anything seemed wrong, she could subdue him instantly. Just as Wang Dihai was about to call, the office door was suddenly pushed open. With one shocking event after another, Wang Dihai finally snapped. How many times have I said it? Knock before you come in. Do you understand the concept of knocking? The person entering was Yang Ming, the bureau captain. He asked anxiously, Director Wang, is there someone named Feng Xiu in our bureau? Upon seeing who it was, Wang Dihai asked with concern, why are you back? Weren't you tracking the human head ghost with Bai Qi? Yang Ming was extremely frantic. Little Bai is in the hospital with severe injuries, but that is not important. Where's Feng Xiu? Hearing that Bai Qi was seriously injured, Shenling Xue immediately released her spiritual fire. Feng Xiu, what did you do to Captain Bai? Feng Xiu looked solemn. He actually got seriously hurt, but fortunately, his life was saved. He is right here. He just said he was giving the Bureau a great gift, and then you rush in reporting Bai Qi's critical injuries. This really is quite a gift. Suddenly, Yang Ming's expression flipped 180 degrees. He even gave a thumbs up. Oh yes, exactly. It really is a great gift. Shenling Xue was momentarily stunned. She looked at Yang Ming in utter disbelief. Ming rushed over immediately. So you are the kid named Feng Xiu. Thanks to your warning call ahead of time, I was able to save Little Bai just in time. Otherwise, he would have been in real danger. Everything that happened at the scene was exactly as you described it. Witnessing this scene, Wang Dihai and the other were completely dazed. What is even going on here? Feng Xiu smiled slightly. Director Wang, are you satisfied with my great gift? And Ms. Shun, you can stop using your fire powers now. I cannot handle your enthusiasm. The proud Shenling Xue was so angry she was speechless. She didn't expect a single call from Feng Xiu could save the life of a spirit master. Could he really be that terrifying? If what happened to Bai Qi was not staged, then your ability indeed possesses immense strategic value. I can agree to your terms, but only after the final results are confirmed. Xiao Shun, take Mr. Feng to the lounge to wait. Yang Ming, you stay. I have questions for you. Yang Ming regained his serious expression and nodded in agreement. He then whispered in Feng Xiu's ear, wait for me a bit. I will come find you. In the lounge, the two sat in silence. Shenling Xue was very reluctant to be with Feng Xiu because not only did he know her quirks, he had even seen the tattoos on her private areas. Thinking of this, Shenling Xue's face turned red. She felt like she was transparent in front of him, with no privacy left. Meanwhile, Fang Xiu stared at her without hesitation, as if plotting something. Her neck was actually very white, long, and incredibly smooth. Her curves were also impressive, reminding him of his graceful wife back home. The hand in his pocket couldn't help but twitch. He really wanted to drive a scalpel into her neck. Unfortunately, human blood is warm, unlike his ghostly wife. But would my wife bleed too? If her blood splattered on me, it would probably feel cool and refreshing. 2.5 minutes later, the lounge door was pushed open. Yang Ming cleared his throat. Ling Xue, please step out for a moment. I have something to discuss with Fang Xiu in private. Ling Xue adjusted her clothes. She had wanted to leave this place long ago. Yang Ming was curious about the two being alone together. Could there be something between them? He quickly sat down, putting on the air of an elder. He asked with a grin, Fang Xiu, about me drugging Little Bai. You haven't told anyone else, right? Fang Xiu found this captain's focus very strange. Even director Wang Dihai was extremely cautious about the power of precognition. Who would have thought Yang Ming's biggest concern was actually the matter of drugging Bai Qi? Fang Xiu thought for a moment and said, for now, no one else knows besides me, but I can't guarantee the future. Yang Ming's expression immediately became tense. What do you mean by that? I mean I need a hush money fee. Yang Ming was instantly depressed. He immediately tried to play the emotional card. You're about to join the investigation bureau, right? I am your captain. I can look out for you in the future. Plus, the bureau is a complicated place, and you're just a rookie. Fang Xiu interrupted him directly. You don't want anyone knowing about the drugging, do you? 100 spirit coins. Yang Ming clearly got a bit worked up. You haven't even joined the bureau yet. Believe it or not, with one word, 200 spirit coins. Crap. I only make 10 spirit coins a month. Then go ahead and tell them. I'd rather be beaten to death by Little Bai. Yang Ming, wait. Just kidding. Brother Xiu. One was chatting in the director's office. Only Yang Ming squatted gloomily in the corner. Ling Xue, can you lend me some spirit coins? Ling Xue replied crossly, Captain, you make 20 a month. I only make 5, and you are asking me for money? Hearing their conversation, Fang Xiu felt he had been too hasty. He would have to squeeze more out of Yang Ming later. Just then, the computer showed the results. Today's winning numbers are 0, 1, 12, 17, 18, 26, 2705. As the numbers were read out one by one, everyone's eyes were fixed on the screen. Every single digit matched what Fang Xiu had written. He won. The numbers are identical. Yang Ming excitedly hugged Fang Xiu. Brother Xiu, from today on, you are my real brother. Help me predict the next round's numbers, okay? Wang Dihai immediately scolded him. Stop this nonsense. Overusing precognition worsens spiritual instability. How can you use it for such trivial things? Now that Fang Xiu's ability is confirmed, it must be kept strictly confidential. Just call it a sensory ability to the public. Fang Xiu, I officially invite you to join the bureau. All the benefits mentioned before will be fulfilled. Fang Xiu nodded in agreement, quite satisfied with the outcome. It was worth dying once for this. Yang Ming suddenly asked, Director Wang, how do you plan to report this to headquarters? Report to the North Bureau headquarters. Suggest adding him to the Global Spirit Master Talent Archive. Classify all related files as top secret. Fang Xiu, S rank. Codename, Prophet. Ability, Precognition. Yang Ming was surprised. Fang Xiu's ability is extremely valuable. Aren't you worried headquarters will take him away? And also, how come I'm not in the Global Talent Archive? But he gets in as a rookie? This feels rigged. It is rigged. Precisely because precognition has such high strategic value. He should advance to a higher platform. If Fang Xiu goes to headquarters, it will definitely be better than staying in Liltang City. By the way, Fang Xiu, records show that you and Zhao Hao are close friends. Like you, he awakened as a spirit master in the ghost prison. I think he should join the bureau as well. That way, it will strengthen your bond with the bureau. And even after you go to headquarters, you will still have ties here to help Liltang City with missions. It is a perfect plan. Ling Xue protested, but Director Wang, his power is sexual in nature. Do we really want someone so depraved? It doesn't matter. As his spirituality increases, his ability will evolve significantly. Having him join brings only benefits. Fang Xiu didn't seem to care at all and said indifferently, suit yourselves. Now that Fang Xiu's matter is settled, Wang Dihai continued. Fang Xiu is now one of us. Yang Ming, tell us about the Shadow Ghost's ambush on Bai Qi. At the mention of the Shadow Ghost, Yang Ming became serious and professional. Although there is no proof, I strongly suspect a human was behind it. While fighting the Shadow Ghost, even though it was shrouded in shadows, just like a specter, it felt like I was fighting a person. If I hadn't fortunately killed the human head ghost first and broken through to tier 3 on the spot, I wouldn't have been a match for it at all. Moreover, the opponent seemed to be holding back. As soon as I leveled up, it immediately vanished into the shadows. Yang Ming then pulled a playing card from his pocket. I also found this ace of spades at the scene. Wait, this is a card forged from psychic steel. Fang Xiu couldn't help but wonder, do ghosts use things like this too? Wang Dihai said with a grim expression, if the Shadow Ghost left this behind, it suggests he is very likely a spirit master, and there is a massive organization behind him. This Shadow Ghost situation is not simple. We need to plan our next move carefully. Shun, take Fang Xiu to process his onboarding first. After finishing the paperwork, Fang Xiu returned home. His wife kept clinging to him. Hubby, I missed you so much. But Fang Xiu ignored her. He examined his investigator ID in his hand. Finally, I successfully joined the bureau. Now with the bureau's resources, revenge is much closer. Wife, you should look forward to it. Next, he opened the black briefcase, revealing a pile of dark gold coins inside. His wife was thrilled. Wow, hubby made so much money. You are so amazing. These are spirit coins forged from psychic steel. A single coin can be sold on the black market for nearly $1 million. As expected of a bureau captain, being able to produce so many spirit coins at once. Only Yang Ming could do this. Rather than calling it blackmail, it was more like his way of thanking Fang Xiao for saving Bai Qi. It was clear the two of them were quite close. As for these 200 coins, Fang Xiao thought of the perfect way to use them to maximize the benefit. First, he ruled out defensive gear because he has the Death Echo ability. His margin for error is extremely high. Furthermore, with only 200 coins, he couldn't forge a full set of armor anyway. As for offensive weapons, Fang Xiao already has a scalpel, so his need for weapons isn't high. 200 coins sounds like a lot, but to forge a sword or a large blade, it simply isn't enough. Actually, with his pain ability, Fang Xiao doesn't need a weapon with massive destructive power. He only needs something small and sharp enough to quickly pierce through the enemy's defenses. A scalpel suits him best, and he is already very comfortable using one. However, considering the current scalpel is a cursed tool, it shouldn't be exposed to the public. Taking everything into account, Fang Xiao decided to forge a weapon similar to a scalpel. First, it suits me well. Second, it can hide the existence of the cursed tool. If there are any spirit coins left, I can exchange them for cash to buy information on the supernatural forums. Just as he was preparing to rest, there was a sudden knock at the door. Fang Xiao slowly put away the spirit coins. Who would it be in the middle of the night? The bureau or Zhao Hao would have called first. Could it be a ghost knocking? He stood up and walked quietly toward the door. Suspicious, he chose not to open the door and slowly approached the peephole to check. He needed to see who was there. Taking a close look, Fang Xiao instantly broke into a cold sweat. Visible through the peephole was a bloodshot eyeball. The white of the eye was pure red, covered in veins, with an incredibly deep pupil. Just as Fang Xiao was about to retreat, the eye suddenly emitted a strange spiritual pulse, aimed directly at him. In the next second, Fang Xiao's consciousness felt as if it were blasted by some force and vanished instantly. Everything went black, and his body collapsed. 2.5 hours later, the sound of heavy machinery echoing reached his ears. Fang Xiao slowly opened his eyes, feeling his mind in a daze. He shook his head quickly to clear his thoughts. As his senses gradually returned, Fang Xiao carefully observed his surroundings. He found himself tied to an iron chair, with ice-cold chains tightly wrapped around his body. The air was thick with a heavy stench of decay, like the smell of rotting corpses. Nearby stood a neat row of torture tools, of all kinds, and every single tool was stained with dark red blood. It was obvious many people had been executed here. On the surrounding walls, there were many dried, dark red bloodstains, scattered in spray patterns, and in the center of the warehouse sat a meat grinder. It looked rusty and very dilapidated, but it also contained a large amount of dark red blood. Fang Xiao suddenly realized he was in an abandoned warehouse, and many actual ghosts were wandering around the place. Several of them were even surrounding him, constantly drooling. Then he looked toward the source of the noise. A man wearing a brown overcoat and a peaked cap was holding a wrench, repeatedly striking the meat grinder as if he were trying to repair it. The man seemed to sense something and suddenly turned his head. His face was deathly pale, and his frame was gaunt, looking like nothing but skin and bones, with a pair of bloodshot eyes. He stared straight at Fang Xiao. A frantic and eerie smile crept across his face. You are finally awake.